at the finishing step for Project 3, the Surf's Up truck, and this is video 10. Well, welcome back everyone. You've got all the surface stitching done on your Surf's Up truck, and we're going to go on from there. This should be a review if you were with us with Project 2, because we've already applied a backing. The steps are exactly the same, it's just that this happens to be a different shape. The difference is we've done a lot of surface stitching on this one, and what's important for you to see is that it has shrunk quite a bit. Now you could trim that away now, but actually I believe it's a little bit more stable if we'll trim it away after you've done the pressing step. So I already removed the waste paper, the first waste paper, the white piece, from this gridded one, and I have smoothed it on to the back of wrong side of Surf's Up truck. Again, I'm going to suggest that we trim that away after we've ironed it, but I need you to be careful. Even if you turn this down, that's going to fuse to your ironing surface, and that is not a good plan. So I want you to reach into your notions from the Floss and Notion kit. Grab this piece of parchment paper, place it down where it says parchment paper for this side up. I had you mark it in the very beginning. And then we're going to turn this over. If you're starting in the middle of these projects with us, simply refer to the videos, and Joanna's got one from me about going over your Floss and Notions kit, and that's where the parchment paper is. So it says this side up, but I'm actually going to flip the whole thing, and I'm going to dry iron the backing, or the fusible, the grid side of the fusible, onto my truck. And you know, we're talking maybe 5 minutes over each area. It really depends on your iron, how hot it is. These little portable irons are wicked hot, so I don't seem to have any trouble doing it for about 5 seconds or less. So I've ironed that on. Then I'm going to go to a pair of scissors, and I'm going to simply trim it exactly equal to my sand background. Something I forgot to say on this one, which you've probably kind of figured out, is this wool happens to be pretty loosely woven, and you ended up with a lot of hairs. I hope you did your best to just ignore them until we got to this step. If anything, if you had to trim them, you trimmed them exactly even with the oval as you went along. Please don't pull them. There were some pretty wild hairs on this straight of grain up here. Don't pull them. But see, by waiting till the end, I just can trim them off exactly even without losing any of the oval shape. And I hope that you were able to withstand the temptation, and you're doing that step now. Just remember, if you've got things bugging you, trim them real close. Don't pull on them. That will potentially make the situation worse. All right, I'm going to set my parchment paper aside. I've got that fused on. I'm going to fold it back. I'm going to remove the second waste paper, the gridded one. And notice it locked in. All that sticky fusible has totally locked in all your stitches. They're there forever. I'm going to take my cotton background. They were all different in the kits. Don't panic if yours doesn't look like somebody else's. And to the best of my ability, I'm going to match it up and hopefully do so without getting any folds in it. And you, as I said before, I can feel it better than I can see it. So that's why I'm doing hand smoothing of this. But I know that this cotton background is smooth. I'm going to turn it over, and I know that it's smooth on the front. And hopefully you will notice that once I fuse this down, I've got quite a bit of cotton to trim away. I don't want to trim any of the wool, but I'm definitely going to have some cotton along here that will need to be trimmed away. So it's at this phase. There's no fusible exposed, so I can do without the parchment underneath, but it's at that phase where I need to pick up the dampened press cloth and fuse that till it dries. Remember, it looks pretty significantly different between a wet press cloth and a dry one. And that's my steaming step. The wet press cloth simulates steam by ironing until dry. I know I've put enough to it, enough heat to it. It'll have that all stitched down. Remember, after this step, you can certainly turn it over and repeat it on the front, but I do want you to give it time to completely cool down. Probably even before you come back and trim it, I'm going to ask you to allow it some rest time to cool down. Remember, this also serves to set all your stitches. They'll be set in amongst the work, so even if by chance you had a knot work itself out, it's highly unlikely you have set it into the work by steam fusing that all down. I'm going to do just a little bit, but not the whole thing. But again, as I stated to you a few seconds ago, I've got quite a bit of cotton to trim away. Again, please hold your scissors parallel to the edge that you're working on, and don't cut away any of the wool. You're just cutting the cotton exactly even. And it didn't stretch. Your work shrank because of all the stitches that we put on it. No big deal. It's not going to hurt it any. I'll finish trimming that another time, but I want to jump right into, again, review. We want to do those no knots, beginning and endings. We actually do start with a knot at the beginning, but I'm putting my needle up through the cotton, between the cotton and the wool. I'm leaving my knot here. We're going to get rid of that later. And then I'm just going to begin the blanket stitch. Come a scant 1/4 inch away, work your needle up through that circle, go around. Do remember, and it is in the directions, that you're changing to 3 strands of floss to simulate a size 8 or at least a size 12 pearl cotton around the perimeter edge. And I'm working with a short stitch here, or short thread here, because I do want to show you how to end. And notice on this one, for some reason, and although it's good on a circle or an oval, not so much on the scallop, where we had to, get into those concave portions of the scallop. My stitches are quite a bit farther apart. They're really much more closer to a 1/4 inch. And that's okay. I'm going to do one more. Again, I started with a really short thread so that I could show you ending. So I've stitched as far as I can with this particular thread. I'm going to move to the back. I need to jump on the other side. If I go back in where I'm at, I'm going to undo my stitch. I need to jump over. And I want to, if I can, weave my thread between the 2 layers. And I'm going to come up at the base of that leg right there. I'm going to look at it and make sure I can't see a needle through the front, and I can't, so I know I'm between the layers. I'm going to lock that stitch. I'm going to weave it to the left a little bit, maybe somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 inch. I'm between the layers again, double checking it's not showing on the front side. And then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to just weave it back through the opposite direction. By going left and then right, it's as good as, if not better than, tying a knot. So there's your no knot ending. My no knot beginning actually started with a knot, but once I've got my stitches going, I'm just going to come back and cut that away. And I'm going to recommend you cut that away after you steam press it, so we know that those are all set in there. And there you go. There's your blanket stitch. Obviously just a small amount there, but you get the idea. And I've got no knot beginning and no knot ending. And you'll just rethread the next one. You'll leave a knot here temporarily and keep going. and then clip it after you're stopped. You'll have to probably separate thread into 3 strands of floss, you know, at least 4 times, you know, at least 2 strands of 22 inches or so, split into 3, so that'll be 4 sets of 3, if not 5 or 6, to get all the way around. And you're done. Congratulations. Thank you for hanging in for Surf's Up Truck. It definitely is a little bit more stitching with all the different stitches and using all the colors of thread, but I hope that you'll like it and enjoy displaying it. See you at the next video.